I think it is quite a recognised scam now. We get them at town council quite often from people pretending to be the mayor or the chair. So
I had one from even St Albans Community Council chair the other day, well, about 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh right.
And wanting £100 and £200 urgently.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Because she was stuck in a meeting or something.
yeah.
You're not doing that.
I went on from the next one.
We're on next one.
Yeah.
So
If you get the computer, it's not a scam.
Times though.
Pardon?
If
If you get the computer, it's not a scam.
yeah, she's after the money. Yeah.
Seven is not affluent.
Right.
Oh, no, here it comes.
Yeah, mine was slow.
Well, good afternoon, members, and anybody else watching via the internet. This is the Democratic Service Committee meeting of today, Monday, the 15th of April 2024 at 2 o'clock in the Council Chamber in Askew, but welcome to those on board online as well. Thank you. Right, item number 1, apologies for absence, please, Nikki.
No apologies.
Thank you very much. Any declarations of interest? Shall we take those as and when? Thank you. Item 3, to confirm the minutes of the previous meeting. Could somebody please propose that these are a correct record of the last meeting held on the 22nd of January, please? Thank you very much. Councillor Stevens and Councillor Strong. Thank you very much. I'll sign those after the meeting. Thank you. Moving on then to item 4, which is the Independent Remuneration Panel for Wales Report 2024-25, the arrangements for payments to co-opted members. Thank you. Over to you, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Hopefully a fairly straightforward report for us to consider today. We received the report of the Independent Remuneration Panel at the previous meeting. We put in a response to the draft report earlier or towards the end of 2023. So we're not considering the details of the IRP report in full. We've already done that. But within the final report that they've published for next year is the option for councils to consider whether to remunerate co-opted members of the council on an hourly rate or under the arrangements that we pay now under a half-day rate or a full-day rate, depending on obviously the work undertaken, how long a meeting takes, etc. Is a mix between authorities. I think the reason it's been put in the latest IRP report is some councils do pay an hourly rate to co-opted members, but it was never done on that basis. It was always done on the wording of half or full day interpretation, so it's just been added in to make sure it covers all councils. But as there's an option for us now to consider how we should be remunerating them, it's right that we bring it to a committee just to finalise and get that decision determined. I've consulted with the co-opted members that we have on the council. They've been made aware of the options. They're all fully in support of what the recommendations are within the report, which is to retain the half or the full day rates that we currently pay. The downside with switching to an hourly rate system is it's fairly obvious. There's more admin and more paperwork for us, for payroll, for the co-opted members themselves in logging the work they do, but there is that additional level of transparency in terms of the hours worked and the prep that they've done for meetings, as well as participation in meetings itself. But we've still got the forms that they need to complete to clear that they've done the work, that they've done a half or a full day. Without that admin.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, John. I've got two questions, actually. It's in relation to town councils. If town councillor allowances are delayed for some reason, and that delay goes into the new financial year, are those allowances null and void, or can they be claimed back? As an example, can I give you an example? Caldicot Town Council were delayed from last September, given analysing the allowances. They were delayed until the end of October. Now there's another delay now, which the allowances should have gone out in March, but still have not been received. So is that a case of them being null and void?
Good question, Councillor Stevens. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
As it's town council business rather than county council business, it might be better if we pick it up outside of the meeting or with the remuneration panel themselves, because I'm not particularly au fait with the town council rules or the elements of that report. The report covers everything, but for us, really, today we're only concerned ourselves with the county council report. But I think it would just ultimately come down to whatever decision was in the detail of the reports that the town council considered, because it's going to be for each community or town council to determine whether they make that payment or not. If the report didn't say they were entitled to it, or if the next report says they are entitled to the back pay, then again, that's a decision for the town council to make themselves in determining when, considering that item when it comes back round next time. But I can take it away and get clarification from the remuneration panel for you.
Yeah, the determination was that the allowances would be paid biannually, which would mean March and September. So then I need to take that back to the town council. Yeah. Thank you.
Leave it with me, and I'll see if I can get it in writing from the town council. But I'll pick up the detail probably after the meeting with you, so we know where it sits with the council.
Great. Thank you, John. Thank you.
Chair, can I come in? Sorry.
Rachel, sorry, I can't, my microphone. Come in now, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. It's really to make an observation of the pros and cons of, full or half-day rate or hourly. It strikes, as you consider it, that to have as an easier system that doesn't involve time, wasted time by officers and also co-opted members, strikes me as a good way to go. I think as it's proved to be successful in the past, I have no objection for it continuing. I think it seems like a sensible way to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any other?
Hand for Marion, is it?
Marion, have you got your hand up?
I have indeed, yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Also,
come in.
Thanks. Just for clarification, so it's one or the other. So we either go for the morning and afternoon rate or just the hourly rate. And also, have we heard what other local authorities are doing, sort of with regards to this decision? And I presume that it would be, when they go hourly, it would be no different to, it would be a fourth of the 4 hour option or 8 hour, whatever it is.
Thanks, Marion. In terms of other councils, like I say, I think that the option to pay by hourly rate has been put in because some councils have chosen to already implement a system along those lines, but then have paid them along the basis of the half or full day. I think there's a mix, in consulting with some of the co-opted members who are on more than one council. Some are switching to an hourly rate, some are retaining the current system. I think the main driver, I think, in terms of switching to hourly rates is we're entitled to remunerate those co-opted members for preparations for meetings and travel to meetings, things like that, reading time essentially, which can be wound up then into the half-day element, so it's not separated out, it's all aggregated. So if they do 2 hours prep and 2 hours in a meeting, that's a half-day payment for that particular meeting. The downside with adopting an hourly rate system for that is what is an acceptable level of preparation and reading time for a meeting, to the point that some other councils are doing it sort of based on the size of the agenda and the number of pages, and I think that removes the flexibility for those co-opted members to work in a way that works best for them. You can even add some differences there between how much time does a co-opted chair, say, of governance and audit, need to prep for a meeting, which might be longer than what the members are. So are we putting variations in that process there, or are we just saying, let's apply a bit of common sense here, leave those co-opted members to work in the best way that works for them, and then apply the half or full day rate to them depending on what suits their arrangements and the way it comes out, depending on the length of the agenda, which is going to, again, equal itself out over the years. Some meetings and agendas will be big, other agendas will be relatively small, and those half-day payments will work themselves out into whatever those hourly rates end up being towards the end of the year anyway.
Thank you for that. Are you content with that response, Marion?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Sorry.
Thank you. Can I just give apologies from our monitoring officer, James Williams, who was due to come today but now can't make it. Is that right? Thank you very much. Moving on now to item 5, please. Constitution update. Again, over to you, John. Thank you.
Yeah, as the chair just mentioned, this was really the monitoring officer's item that he was going to come in on. There was a couple of questions raised from Councillor Brown at the last meeting that he was going to pick up. He'll circulate a note to all members by email, so you've all got some of those questions that were raised last time, you got the answers to in writing. I think in general it was just going to be an overall constitution update as well, that the constitution's being reviewed. It'll come back to this committee at some point when it's ready for you to consider the changes that are being put forward. But I won't steal the monitoring officer's thunder. He said he'll come back to the next meeting and hopefully be able to pick it up there. So I think with little else to say on that item,
okay,
in his absence, we'll leave it there, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that, John. Is there any members that wish to make any comment? Thank you. Yes, Councillor Connell.
Did we agree the arrangements for payments?
I was just going to come back to that. I think from the feedback we had there that it was in support of retaining the half-day system. Is there any members objecting to that?
I'll see any. Okay.
Then we'll take that as approved.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Councillor Brown, would you like to come in, please? Thank you.
Yeah. When do we expect to have the constitution update? Do you know?
Again, I think I'll let the monitoring officer respond to that when he circulates his update to you in writing following this meeting. He would have given it today. I haven't got the answer, unfortunately, but it'll be in writing to you following the meeting.
Yeah. Could I ask a question or two on it, please?
You can, of course.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I noticed that the Standards Committee had a report by Richard Penn into basically looking at the review of the Code of Conduct for local authorities and for councillors, and the recommendation there was that the Code of Conduct should be aligned with the 9 protected characteristics of protected characteristics in the Equality Act. And I raised this previously at a council meeting, and I read the consultation response that the Welsh Government gave, and it said that one local authority had already implemented these changes so that the Code of Conduct aligned with the Equality Act 2010, because the regulations in Wales, I think, started in 2008 and predated the Equality Act, and I think 100% of the people approved it, and there didn't seem to be any reason why our local authority should have to wait for these regulations to be updated. And I think it would be helpful if they were, because at the moment, for example, the our Code of Conduct states that we have to include discrimination on gender as opposed to gender reassignment and sex. So this means our Code of Conduct does not have anything on sex discrimination at all in it. So I think it would be helpful if the 9 protected characteristics were included, and another local authority has already done that according to the consultation responses. And I've already raised other issues with regard to proposed changes in planning, which I think need to be looked at by this committee as well in constitutional changes. For example, the town and community councils, basically they get notification of any amended planning applications because that's part of the statutory, they're a statutory consultee. But although county councillors can actually basically they get notified of the initial application because of the fact that that's good practice, but they don't necessarily get notified of a material amended application, which in other words, it means that in your ward you may not be notified of an application that is basically a complete amendment of the original application, but town and community councils will be informed. And I think most county councillors would have expected themselves to be also informed of amended applications, because it could be that you wanted to refer a particular application to the planning committee, which you have a right under the Constitution to do. But if you then want to you then don't have to statutorily be informed of a material amendment to the same planning application because of the fact that you're not a statutory consultee. And in order to fill that gap, it's important that that measure is put in the Constitution. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense of the fact that you are allowed to refer an application to the planning committee. And I don't think a lot of councillors necessarily realise this. I came across this when, for example, I was informed of an amended material change in a planning application, but the community council wasn't. And then there was another occasion where a community council was informed of a planning application, and because I've got a good relationship with them, they let me know about this, but I wasn't informed as a county councillor. And I think it's important that these sort of things in terms of openness and transparency, and for county councillors to be able to represent their ward, that they are involved in these, making comments on these decisions. I hope I've explained that simply enough.
Yeah, thank you. You made really important points, actually. Thank you, Louise. And I'm sure other members will agree, particularly with regard to the planning situation, with regard to planning applications. Okay, so thank you.
So thanks, Chair. Just to clarify the position, then I think Councillor Brown's raised a couple of points there on various different aspects. We've got the code of conduct and we've got the planning processes. I think the monitoring officer's intention is, rather than to bring lots of piecemeal reports and short changes to the Constitution to you, you'll have a revised version of a draft new Constitution with those amendments highlighted in, and we'll be considering the Constitution as a whole, which will include some of these amendments that Councillor Brown's referenced, amongst other things. It'll probably be, I won't say it will, but we might obviously consider a members' seminar. That's what's happened in the past, so we discuss it informally and then take it through the more formal process afterwards as well. But again, I think it's more a case of this will be the draft new Constitution that we're working to, and then we can talk through those different parts of it as we go through, rather than bringing lots of different bits over a period of time.
Thank you. A seminar seems to be a good idea. Yes, Peter.
Yeah, I don't anticipate there being too many changes, because we did discuss this probably a year ago now, and we did spot one or two howlers where it said we had 43 councillors and not 46 that we amended under when Matt Phillips was the monitoring officer. We did also at the time, if I recall, discuss the terms of the protected characteristics, and if I remember correctly, one or two changes to the wording were made, but they weren't consistent, and so we actually need to have another look at that side of it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Thank you. So if you could let James know that we wait with anticipation, sooner rather than later, for the details of the new or amended Constitution. Thank you very much. Thank you. If there's no other business, we'll draw the meeting to a close. I mean, I'm missing Armand. Nobody has heard if he's not. Where is he? Oh, sorry. Sorry. Louise, did you say? Laura. Laura. Sorry, Laura. The hand thing isn't coming up on the screen.
Don't worry about it, that's fine. I'm just wondering whether you feel it might be an appropriate matter for the full work programme.
We can't hear you very well, Laura.
Sorry, let me move slightly. Any better now?
No. Shout.
Okay, how about now?
That's wonderful, wonderful.
Lovely. I'm just wondering whether a matter for the forward work programme for this committee could be if we could look at where we use for polling stations for elections across the council area, because I'm aware there have been some concerns raised by teachers around the use of schools and the knock-on impact that's having on teaching and classroom provision. Is that something we could look at or no?
I'm sure John will be able to answer some of those questions. Thank you, Laura, for that.
Yeah, not a problem bringing it to the committee. I'd be mindful on timings, just in terms of we've got a general election around the corner that we don't know when it would be, so committing us to some changes ahead of that might be tricky. But certainly we can do that. I think just on the point of schools, we only actually use 2 schools in Monmouthshire altogether. We've moved out of all the others for those reasons. We don't want to cause any disruption. In the 2 that we do use, we just haven't found a suitable alternative. And in one of those schools, we put special arrangements in place, fencing up so we can keep part of the school open. But it's only the nursery and it's only affecting a small number. So we've done as much as we can. But if anybody's got any concerns about the use of schools, etc., just by all means as well, send them through to me, because we can look to see if we can put some practical arrangements in place in that interim period.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Are you content with that response, Laura? Yes. Okay. Thank you. So,
sorry, Chair. Sorry, Chair. I raised my hand. Is it okay for me to add another point that was supposed to be a follow-up from the last meeting?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, I think I asked if the monitoring officer would have a look at the scrutiny procedures, because of the fact that we did have a report that was to do with my ward on the Mountain House School and the PRU unit, which went straight to council without having gone to the scrutiny committee. It was basically a report that should have gone to whoever in scrutiny deals with education matters, and the local government legislation says that certain groups can be part of the voting on that, including faith schools. We don't seem to have any faith school representatives on our education matters, but because of the fact that there is the inherent legislation which actually allows for voting on a matter of education for faith schools, because obviously they're involved in education matters. And since this didn't go to scrutiny, then it may be contrary to both the Constitution and the legislation. And I was wanting some feedback from the monitoring officer on that particular aspect, because there was a concern when that report went to full council that it hadn't, first of all, been debated in scrutiny, and it was being scrutinised at full council as opposed to a scrutiny committee. And, as this committee is democratic services, and it's supposed to be about, democracy, which I think is about scrutinising issues. And it is also an issue one of my residents has raised, that they were very concerned that this issue hadn't gone to scrutiny because they actually had other proposals for that particular site.
Thank you, Louise. Is there something you want to speak about, John, or shall we put it on James's list?
Yeah, well, essentially, I'm saying that's on James's list, but I know we spoke about it after the meeting from the query you raised. He has a response for you, but that'll be included in his. He was going to address it today, but it'll be included in his written response he sends around after the meeting when he's available.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Maria, you wanted to come in?
Yes, I excuse me, I had actually written for a forward work programme, closure of primary schools for election polling stations, because I believe the school I'm governor at are one of the schools you mentioned, John. Did I get that right? If I contacted you with some alternative places we could look at for the future? Yeah? And I realise it wouldn't be for any general election this year. There wouldn't be any time for that. But we could be looking at it seriously. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think you agree that's helpful, John. Thank you very much. Thank you. Rachel, I think you wanted to come.
I did. It's actually the monitoring officer is absent but large in our thoughts, because I want to add to his burden of we discussed recorded votes and at our last meeting, and how we firm up the procedure so that everyone knows them, and how, you know, what the procedure should be for recorded votes, etc. So I'd like when he comes to our next meeting for us to discuss that in more depth, please.
Yes, disappointing he's not here today, because we could have had quite a good discussion today, but never mind, that's life. Thank you.
Just on that one, Councillor Booker, I know, again, I spoke about it with the monitoring officer after the last meeting, and I think it the outcome we were going to come to reflected the points that I think I made in the meeting, that because we spoke about whether we should be calling for a recorded vote at the outset of an item or after the debate, or when is the right time to be doing it, etc. I think my reflection was you need to retain that flexibility, because you don't know how the debate will progress to then want to call a recorded vote towards the end of an item if you hadn't have called that at the outset. And I think that was the view the monitoring officer was sharing as well, just retaining that flexibility, but seeing if we can change that wording in the Constitution to reflect that more appropriately, which again would be picked up in the Constitution changes that come forward to us again. But the monitoring officer said he'll attend the next committee, so we can bring it up at that point, but hopefully that reflects the conversations that we had last time. I think it was the outcome we pretty much agreed of, retaining flexibility but tightening up the wording on exactly when it could be, which could be any time as long as it is before the actual vote on an item takes place.
Do you want to come back, Rachel?
Yes, just very quickly. Thank you, John, for that. Helpful as ever. And also actually just to discuss how it's recorded in the minutes of the full council, etc. Just so that everyone's clear and that everyone knows the procedure. So yes, to have a bit of more of a discussion will be helpful. So thank you.
Right, members. If there's no other contributions.
Yeah,
Sorry, Peter.
Just go back to the polling stations. I think it'll be useful when we get a discussion on that to have a briefing on what the regulations are in relation to polling stations. John will remember that he had some discussion with Councillor Jackie Strong in Caldecott Cross Ward, because our usual polling station was out of action for the police and crime commissioners, and it would have been useful if we knew what the regulations are, so that we could make appropriate suggestions for alternatives. But it's always useful to be informed, because you never know what you might get asked by a resident on anything and everything.
Thank you, Peter. Did you want to make any comment, John? No other members wishing to make any contribution or speak? We'll draw the meeting to a close, and thank you all for your attendance. Thank you for those online. Goodbye. Hope to see you all on Thursday. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Diolch.
Diolch yn fawr.